All right, thanks, guys. We improved to 2-0 yesterday in our last two daily best play premium sports picks on patreon.com/Brock Page. And of course, that's a site that I operate that gives you premium daily sports picks beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We're also 4-1 straight up in our last five Underdog tier package plays as well. Good for 80% in that span. And the good news is this, we have another Underdog tier package play going off today. As a matter of fact, it's going off at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But before we go ahead and move on, let's go ahead and take a look at some Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. And we're going to start with Dmitry Merzlinkin taking on Heiser Kudaberdiev in a 6 p.m. Eastern start time. Now, Shears is coming off an embarrassing 3-0 shutout defeat at the hands of Chentsov. He's also lost his last two straight outings by way of shutout, including a 3-0 loss to Merzlinkin as well. And currently, Heiser is one of the coldest players in the world of table tennis right now, losing his last 8 matches. Even worse, 5 out of those 8 defeats came by way of humiliating shutout, 3-0. Now, Merzlinkin on the other side, completely different story, as he's coming off a dominant 3-0 shutout victory over Abramov in his last outing. He's also garnered himself shutout victories in his last 2 straight, including a 3-0 victory of Shazier during that span. Dmitry's 3-0 straight up in his last 3, while also posting a record of 5-2 straight up in his last 7. Good for 71% in that category. Dmitry's playing at a very high level right now, shutting out his opponent in 3 out of his last 4 victories, respectively. Looks like a great spot for Dmitry backers here. Give me Dmitry Merzlinkin getting the job done for some moneyline cash. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for Friday's Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. Happy Friday to you. The weekend is finally here. Now, before we go ahead and move on with the program, I just want to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage, where once again we improved to 2-0 in our last 2 daily best play tier package picks on that website. We're also 4-1 in our last 5 Underdog tier package plays as well. And the good news is this. We have another Underdog tier package play going off today, and as a matter of fact, it's going off at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So there still is some time to sign up for that package. We do daily premium sports picks on that website, beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We also have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. Currently, we have well over 600 members currently signed up and active on that page. Now, you might be wondering, why would all those folks sign up to receive Patreon picks where they can get them right here for free on YouTube? And that's certainly a great point, a great concern. But there is a big problem with me handicapping every single game that's on the board, side and total. And the problem is this. If you were to go ahead and bet every single game that's on the board that I put out here on YouTube, side and total, you're certainly guaranteeing yourself failure. And I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds very bizarre to hear me say that on this video. But just hear me out real quick. If you're going to go ahead and bet every single game that's on the slate with your hard-earned money, it's certainly not a winning formula for success. And as a matter of fact, it's a recipe for disaster. The books are way too smart. They're way too sharp. They have a lot more money than you and I do combined to be able to absorb that kind of action. And most important, the math becomes aggressively against you the more and more games you play like that. So that's why pick'em pools are so hard, you know, if you're picking every game in the NFL week. But anyway, what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you. I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're high percentage picks, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, my current Patreon record is a whole lot better than it is here on YouTube, handicapping every single game that's on the board, side and total. And the good news is this. If you want to go ahead and check out my current Patreon record, you have access to that right now. You can do that for free right now. It's located right on the homepage. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive back into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Alex Volkoff squaring off against Igor Smirnoff in a 6 p.m. start time. Smirnoff's been victorious in 2 out of his last 3 matches, including a gritty 3-2 victory over Alex Volkoff during that span. He also defeated Dolat handily 3-1 during that stretch as well. Igor's also been victorious in 4 out of his last 6, including a dominating 3-0 shutout victory of Oleg Nikiforov during that span. Smirnoff's 5-3 record in his last 8 matches is also good for a win percentage of .625. Smirnoff has also garnered incredible success over Alex Volkoff over the past couple of weeks. He went an amazing 7-1 straight up in his last 8 head-to-head meetings with Volkoff, good for a win percentage of .875 during that span. And speaking of Volkoff, he's coming off a tough 3-1 loss to Viktor Ivanov in his last outing. Volkoff's currently on a 2-match losing streak and has also been victorious in just 2 out of his last 8. Volkoff's fallen to the likes of Ivanov, Smirnoff, and Dolat during that span. Looks like a pure fate of Volkoff in this spot here. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Igor Smirnoff, getting the job done for some money line cash. All right, next contest, it is going to be Andrei Menshikov squaring off against Vas Shears in a 6:30 p.m. start time. Shears dropped 2 out of his last 3 matches, including an embarrassing 3-0 defeat to Alex Ermolov during that span. He also fell 3-1 to Ivan Novikov during that stretch as well. Shearsov's 1-7 record in his last 8 is good for a win percentage of just 125. Even worse, he was beaten by way of shutout 4 times during that stretch as well. Menshikov on the other side, a little bit different story here, as he's been victorious in 2 out of his last 4, including a 3-0 shutout against Novikov during that run. Andrei's also been victorious in 5 out of his last 8, including victories against Novikov, Ermolov, and Oleg Kutuzov during that span as well. Andrei's garnered some pretty good success over Shearsov as of late, going 8-2 straight up in their last 10 head-to-head meetings. Looks like a pretty good spot for Menshikov here. May want to include this one in a 3-leg parlay. But with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Andrei Menshikov, winning this one outright in convincing fashion. All right, next and final matchup for the show, it is going to be Oleg Shagger squaring off against Marat Dolat in a 6:30 p.m. showdown. And this one here is arguably one of the most evenly matched contests on the card here today. Dolat is the $1.25 favorite. Shaggeroff's the -115 dog. And speaking of Shaggeroff, he's actually been victorious in 2 out of his last 4, including a solid 3-1 victory over Igor Smirnoff in his last victory. He also beat Alex Volkoff 3-2 during that stretch as well. Shaggeroff's 5-3 record over his last 8 outings is good for a win percentage of .625. Now Dolat on the other side has dropped 3 out of his last 4 matches, with his most recent loss coming by way of shutout 3-0. He was blown out by Viktor Ivanov in that contest. Dolat has also lost to the likes of Smirnoff and Volkoff during that span. And if you throw out his most recent contest with Igor Smirnoff, Marat's dropped 12 out of his last 17 contests. Doesn't look like too appetizing of a spot here for the favored Marat Dolat. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Oleg Shagger getting the job done on the money line. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some shout-outs. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/rockpage. And first, from the Patreon platform, shout out to Dennis McLean, Jeff Kabir, Shane Sports 77, Ravi Verma, John Flack, Terrell Parrott, Anthony Ramos, and Jordan Tavella. Next, shout-outs from Instagram. Got to give a shout-out to Willie Slade, Stupid NFL Memes, Invictus Sport Trading, Jack Sanders, Alex Hill, Matthew Wanenzak, Bokai 90210, and Vlad Kovaleski. And finally, shout-outs from YouTube. Goodnight Munchie, Liam Harvey, Vernon Morales, Praveen Krish, shout-out to Causey, Raw Honey New Orleans, William Boyd, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout-out to my man, Kevin Taylor. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.